Welcome back to AM Northwest. It's one of the most obsessively followed true crime cases of the century. What really happened to Elisa Lam, a Canadian college student who disappeared from her Los Angeles hotel, only to be found weeks later drowned in a water tower on the hotel's roof? Her death was ruled an accident, but many dispute that. And here to share some new evidence that may reopen the case, we welcome the author of Gone at Midnight, investigative journalist Jake Anderson. Good to have you with us, Jake.
Thank you for having me.
So, first of all, what propelled your interest in this case?
Well, like a lot of people, I was really taken in by this surveillance tape that was released of her on the 14th floor of the Cecil Hotel, Elisa Lam, just acting peculiar in her final moments of being seen. And so that footage just kind of drew me in. And like a lot of people, I just started going down this rabbit hole of exploring the case.
Right.
And then I discovered the mental illness angle of it and how she had kind of meticulously documented her own battle with bipolar disorder and depression. And that's an angle I'm very interested in on a personal level and a family level. So
you have someone in your family that has bipolar disorder?
My aunt had bipolar disorder. And so I became interested in how people who got obsessed with the case were kind of using theories of murder and ghosts at this hotel to try and, as basically a way to explain mental illness.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, this hotel is famous because, I mean, I know of it because of the two murderers stayed there.
Right.
Right? So it was Richard Ramirez, and I forget the other guy's name, but both stayed there, and it has a bad reputation in general.
Right. Absolutely, yeah. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, stayed there, and he would drop his bloody clothes in the dumpster outside of the alley and then go up to his room on the 14th floor and listen to AC/DC and smoke weed and worship Satan.
And the other guy, was he from Australia?
Austria.
Austria.
And
he was from Austria.
Yeah, Jack Unterweger, and he's an interesting serial killer case because he's probably the only serial killer in history that used literature to not only get out of prison, but to then further his killing spree. He basically tricked the entire literati of the Austria area, the academic community there, into thinking that he was this reformed criminal and that they should let him out because of that. And then he basically used that to then move to LA, do ride-alongs with police officers.
Well, he conned the whole police department.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and he found out where he could go to find his victims.
Right.
All the while staying at that same hotel.
So two different serial killers. And then, of course, there's an incredible history of suicides and other strange deaths that have occurred at the hotel. And part of the reason for doing the book is to kind of drill into that history a little bit. The socioeconomic history of downtown LA and that hotel, but also just trying to boil down like what's real and what's not. There's so much mythology attached to that place, including the Black Dahlia going there the night she was killed. It's just a fascinating place.
But what was it about that elevator video that you felt, what was it telling you? Her behavior was odd in what way?
Well, I mean, it depends who you ask. I mean, a lot of people view it as her being symptomatic of bipolar. Psychomotor agitation is the word that is used. Other people think that she's possessed by people that have died at the hotel.
Or could it just be that she was looking to see who was coming down to get in the elevator?
The third explanation would be is someone following her, and I think that's with the time code being cut in certain places. The minute hand changes twice in 7 seconds. There's a lot of anomalies that have not been explained whatsoever by the LAPD.
It was ruled an accident.
It was ruled an accident with bipolar as a contributing factor, but they still have never explained how she got up there, whether she was alone when she was up there, why they didn't find her body when they first sent the canine unit up there in the first place.
You believe she was murdered?
I think it's more likely than not. I can't say 100% certainly because there's still need to find more evidence, but going into the case, I was like 60-40 that it was probably an accident. And I wanted to write about the sociology of the case more. I was not expecting to find evidence that turned me the other way.
And what was that evidence?
Some of it was that one of the employee who found her body was paid a large sum of money to leave the country soon after testifying in a civil case, in which I think he perjured himself as to whether the lid was open or not, which obviously is very important. If the lid was open, it's more likely that she climbed in on her own. If it's closed, someone was covering it up.
Right.
first responder I talked to, who is now chief of police in Wisconsin, he says the lid was closed when he showed up.
And also, there wasn't water in her lungs, right? Is that part of your evidence?
That's controversial.
Okay.
But the original autopsy says she drowned. Independent coroners have looked at it and said this isn't really the amount of fluids you would expect to see neither in her lungs or her stomach, where you typically find fluids, both, and that other factors were not looked at in the autopsy. The autopsy is just very anomalous for a number of reasons, including the fact that the coroner who did it was being sued for falsifying an autopsy in a different case at that exact time.
Wow.
So it's just full of
oh yeah, suspects,
anomalies.
really, yeah.
Right.
Interesting. You have a book event. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought we were running out of time. I apologize.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah. I thought you had a book event. No book event?
It happened. They scheduled it a little early. Yeah.
So sorry we missed it.
It's okay.
Darn it.
No, it's my fault, but the dates got switched around, and
no worries.
yeah.
The book is called Gone at Midnight. Jake Anderson, it's fascinating. Thank you so much for coming and sharing that
Thank
with
you
us.
so
I
much for having
appreciate
me.
that.